13 herbs blended together to give you energy. Yes, it's a natural way. Yes, it does work. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through what the 13 herbs are, how I blend them, and how I drink them. But first, I must point out that I am not a professional doctor. I have been researching myself, I have done experiments, and I know what works for me. It may not work for you, so if you have any concerns about these herbs, please research yourself, or if you are concerned, please consult your doctor. So let's get on with what we've got. First thing off the top is we have this dandelion roots. Okay. Rhodiola root. Stinging nettles. Siberian ginseng root. American ginseng powder. These berries. Rosemary leaves. Cordyceps powder. It's actually a mushroom, okay? Holy basil. That powder. Ginger powder. Licorice root. Cinnamon sticks from CEYLON. Okay, so this is for any of you guys to give you a heads up. If you order the herbs which I am recommending, which I'm using myself, I would say get it sooner rather than later, because you don't want to be in a situation when you get absolutely tired and then you try to sort of make this up at that stage. Try and do this before. Put in a jar, seal it off. It will stay ages fresh, okay? It won't go off. Same old thing. Cool, dark place, away from sunlight, away from damp, and away from odours. Okay, so if you do reach a position where you're absolutely shattered and you need energy, it's just done already. So obviously you can get all of this fresh, okay, but like I say, you don't want to be going out there picking stinger nettles and stuff when you're absolutely shattered. Try and do this sort of thing in advance. The reason I'm showing you things that have been shop bought is because anyone can order them, okay? All of these were bought on eBay in the UK, all right? So if anyone has any questions of where I got it from, all I do is I just put in the names of what I showed you earlier and I went and ordered them from eBay. This is what I already had in stock, which I believe I got from Asda a while back. Don't worry about the expiry date. This stuff lasts for ages, okay? So without further ado, we're going to get into how to blend them all. All I'm going to be using is a bog standard 5ml teaspoon, which everyone should have, okay? And yes, let's get cracking. So all I've got is a saucepan with a lid, okay? I'm trying to go with the idea which most people will actually have. Usually I would do this in like an A4 sized sealed bag, which I can put air in it and shake it all up, but this will absolutely work fine. We're starting off with these. So we're going to get 1 teaspoon and we're just going to put those straight into there. Real simple, real easy. Next we have the ginger powder. Now, obviously this stuff is really ground and fine. It's very potent. So I like to do a level teaspoon, okay? Not a heaped teaspoon. Next we have the licorice root. Now if you look in there, some of it's powder and some of it's quite twiggy. So we try to sort of give that a good mix up, all right? Obviously you're going to get more potency when it's in a sort of powdery form. So we're trying to get it equal as we can. So we've got a nice solid teaspoon there with a mixture of the small powdery bits and indeed the fibrous large pieces of the root. Dandelion root. This stuff is amazing, okay? So we want a nice teaspoon there. It's almost like it's fully heaped, okay? So that goes in. Rhodiola root. Now, some of you guys have never heard or seen or any of this sort of stuff, but this has an amazing smell. Oh my days, it's absolutely gorgeous. So we have a nice heaped teaspoon of rhodiola going in there. Stinging nettles, okay? So this is pretty much a go-to with everything. So we get a nice, good heaped teaspoon of stinger nettles that are going in there. Siberian ginseng root. So you want a good heaped teaspoon of the ginseng. Siberian stuff, if you blend them with the American stuff, it sort of amplifies it quite a lot. The American. I found the cheapest way to get this is in powder form rather than the actual root. So be very careful. You don't need too much of this. And again, if it's a powder that you're putting in, you're pretty much looking at a level teaspoon. Okay, you don't want to do a great big heaped one. So we got our rosemary leaves in there. Incidentally, if you can, try and get as organic as possible. Because these have been dried and they're really small, you want one almost level teaspoon of rosemary leaves in there. POWYS, or as we call it here in the UK, holy basil, okay? Now this is the same, this is a powder. So again, we want one pretty much level teaspoon, okay? You don't need to go mad and put great big heaped teaspoons of these. Because it's a powder, you're getting absolutely loads, okay? Yes, that stuff, the one I can't pronounce. More or less, it's Indian ginseng. So you've got 3 blends of ginseng going in here. Same again, you want to make it that you've got roughly a level teaspoon, okay? You don't want to go over the top of this, all right? So there we go. Bosh, in the mix. And we've got our cordyceps powder, which is indeed a dried fungus. Now, it's exactly the same. I know it sounds a bit repetitive, but you're going to try and do like one pretty much level teaspoon of this, all right? And we've got our really cool organic CEYLON cinnamon sticks, okay? All the way from Sri Lanka. Yes, the good stuff. So all we need to do really is just break the ends off like this and get them up into little bits. You're probably going to look roughly about the same as a heaped teaspoon's worth of this stuff, okay? So the smaller, and I'll tell you what, that smells incredible. You want to sort of break it up into little pieces, okay? You haven't got to go crazy and turn it into powder. That will absolutely do, all right? Oh, that stuff really does smell incredible, okay? And then we just pop that back in our bag. And there we have it, okay? So all we're going to do now is we're going to put the lid on and just give it a really good shake to literally mix it all up. Holy powder. So there it is, all blended up, and it's got its own unique smell. It smells really, really good. So we've got our saucepan here. This just happens to be pretty much like Pyrex, all right? So we don't want any of that PTFE Teflon stuff, okay? Use anything you can. Stainless steel is probably the best. We're just gonna be using a bog standard dessert spoon, okay? Nothing fancy, nothing precisely measured. And we're gonna try and get a good blend with the powder as well as the fibrous stuff. There we go. A nice big heaped dessert spoon of everything that we just mixed up. Now, if we look inside there, okay, there's probably enough for another one, okay? So the dosage of this is what I've just done is literally for 2 servings a day. Okay. Personally, I would probably do 1 a day. I wouldn't really want to recommend doing this in the afternoon or evening, in case it just keeps you awake. So we're looking at 2 days worth with just what I've blended there. And that was just with tiny little teaspoons worth of the ingredients. So we've got our kettle and it's just come off the boil. I'm going to use a pint glass for this because I plan to drink this with it. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to pour boiling water up to there, making sure I do leave some space because I'm going to be putting some lemon in there as well. Okay, so there we go. We've got our pint and we're just going to pour that in there like this. And you can just tell by the colour of that it is completely natural. And there it pretty much is. And you can tell that it's important to try your best to get a good blend of the powdery stuff and all of the larger size stuff. Okay, so now that that's all mixed up, pretty much halfway there now. So all I'm going to do is put that onto the stove, bring it to the boil, and then just simmer it for probably about 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes. Okay. Unfortunately, I have not got a lid for this, so I might just use a plate on the top and turn it down to number 1 if you're using an electric hob, or if you're using gas, just put it onto the lowest heat. Okay, so what we're trying to do is we're trying to extract all of the goodness out of the material that's inside that saucepan. Okay, once that's done, with the lid on, I'm going to use a plate actually for this. I'm just going to leave it alone for a good 10 minutes. So we've got it on there, we've turned it up on full, we're waiting for it to come to a boil. Once that happens, we've got our plate which we're going to put on the top, and it's going to try and keep all of that awesome stuff inside and stop it evaporating, because we don't want to end up with a syrup, we want to end up with a tea essentially. So we're coming up to the boil now, it's been about a minute. We're going to stick that on number 1 and we put our plate on top, and you just wait for 10 minutes. Now that the temperature has adjusted to a simmer, number 1, you can tell the difference from that rapid boil to it just simmering and bubbling away now. So like I said, the whole process will take 10 minutes, and once that's done, we just need to remove it from the heat and just allow it to cool a little bit. Right, 10 minutes has elapsed. We turn the heat off and we remove it from the heat, and we set it for another 10 minutes. All right, 10 minutes has elapsed. The lid's been on all the time. We've not had a peek. So there we have it. There is our gorgeous brew. Now, what I like to do at this point is to use one of these, and I need to know what the temperature is. So I'm just going to put it on there. And as you can probably tell, if I hold it there, that is what we're looking at. Okay, so we need to let that go down to underneath 60 degrees. Okay, very, very important. And for our American friends, that's what it is in old money. So we've got our rather nice lemon there. Try to get unwaxed and organic if you can. If you can't, well, it just is what it is. But at least try to make sure that you get some hot water and get all of that wax off. No one should really be putting wax into their body. This doesn't make sense. And of course, we've got some raw local honey. Yes, the absolute best stuff. And the reason why we don't want that brew to be over 60 degrees C is because it will kill all of the very important enzymes which lie within this raw, natural, organic honey. So we'll get our knife and we're probably going to take off about that much. Okay, nothing too crazy, whatever you want to do. Now it's up to you if you want to actually chop this up into smaller pieces, let it sit in there as well, but I tend to open this up like this and squeeze all of the juice in once it's got to that temperature. And then we just get some of our awesome honey and we put a great big dessert spoon full of it straight in there. stir it all up, and you're good to go. But obviously, before all of that, we need to strain it because you don't want to be drinking those bits. So we're almost ready at the point where we need to strain it. I just love using this. I've had it for years, and it's just fantastic. It's so simple and easy to use, and as you can probably tell by the gauge of the mesh, it's very, very, very fine. Okay, so you really shouldn't get any sort of bits floating around in there at all. Okay, so all this pretty much is by a company by GSI Outdoors, and I'm not sure exactly what they call it, but it's a strainer which fits on a mug or a cup. And if you can look at the little legs on there, they bend. So all we do is we just literally pop that onto the cup like so, and that is it. Pretty much good to go. It's really, really simple. In fact, let's put it on there properly. There we go. Right, so that is what we're looking at. All right, you can just tell that it just grips around your cup, mug, water bottle, flask, whatever it is you want to do. All right, and that is just absolutely ready to pour the good stuff into that. Put the lemon juice in, honey, and yes, we are absolutely good to go. Another way which you can amplify the extraction process, if that makes sense, is once it's all been brought to the boil and it's been boiling for 10 minutes, you could literally pour the whole lot, all of the bits as well, into a flask. Okay, put the lid on really tight, give it a shake, and that will sit in there extracting for hours if you wanted to, because you really could get maximum amounts of extraction out of all of those materials that went in there. Okay, so that is another good idea. If you wanted to do that, that will absolutely be fine, and I've tried that with alternative other medicines and it's worked just fine. All we need to do really is periodically open it and check the temperature, because you don't want it too cold, because at the end of the day, you're the one who's going to be drinking it, and it also helps with the honey blend into it when it's not like stone cold. All right. Okay, so now is the moment of truth. So we get our little thermometer here, and we check the temperature, and as you can tell, it's under 60 degrees C. And for our American friends, what that would be is 137 Fahrenheit. All right. So now we know that it's not going to kill all of the important enzymes within our very, very important honey. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to give that just a little stir around to get it moving around, and just pour it into our strainer. And we're just going to allow that to naturally filter through there to capture all of the bits. Now, if you really wanted to, obviously you've got some amazing stuff in here. And if you look at those dried berries earlier, where they've absolutely just plumped right up there. Whoops. It's all good stuff. So I would be inclined to give that a good mash. All right, smash it all up, because you want to get everything you want out of those important ingredients. Okay. And you can literally just spoon that in there. It doesn't matter how long this takes. The most important thing is it's done correctly. Because I believe the name of the game is you want to get as much goodness out of this stuff as you possibly can to get the maximum benefit. To me, it just makes common sense to do such a thing like that. So there we go. We've pretty much got everything out of there now, and it's just a case of just gently moving it around in there. Okay, and yes, it takes as long as it takes. So moving forward, if you remember what the doses were at the start of the video, all you have to do is just multiply it by how much you actually need. Now, what I've done in this mixture was enough for 2 drinks. I believe 1 drink a day would be more than enough. Okay, so you wake up first thing in the morning and you get this down there. So I believe it's really important to get this already pre-mixed, and all you need to do is just literally boil it up and just do what I've done there. Do that every day before you go to work or whatever it is, and we should be starting to see some benefits. Okay, So don't worry if it stops. Just give it a little mix and it'll just carry on. And there we are. Super wake up brew. Doing its thing. So there we have it. It's completely done. And that is what we have left inside. So we're all good. And we just literally just pull these 3 connectors off of there. Put that inside there out the way. And there we have it. So we get our nice lemon juice in there, which we just chopped up earlier. The only reason I actually do this is from personal preference and experience with looking into herb and tonic drinks over the years, is it just makes it a lot more flavoursome to actually drink. It's entirely up to you whether you want to modify the flavour of this, okay? And my go-to is just literally honey and lemon. I used to put like fresh ginger in there at this point, but as we know, we've already put our powder. Now's the time for that awesome honey, and don't muck around with it. Get it in there. It's absolutely awesome. And like we tested earlier, the temperature is exactly how it should be. So we just give that a good mix, because we know all of these very important enzymes are now undamaged within that drink. That's also going to be good for helping to fight off infection within the throat tract as well. There's a lot of nasties in the throat, especially with all of this illness going around. So it's a win-win, really. And yes, there's no bits in there at all. It's absolutely, it smells good too. You can definitely smell the cinnamon from those Ceylon sticks. They're amazing. So this is the truth. I've not tried this yet. It's nice and warm. It's not too hot or cold. It's a Goldilocks drink. It's just right. Absolutely fine. The lemon and honey really, really helps, and it's quite a stringent flavour. So if you wanted to, you could double up on the honey. You could put loads in there. But at the moment, that's pretty damn good. If you really wanted to, it's entirely up to you. I left this out because, to me, this is personal preference. This will absolutely help as well, okay? Cayenne pepper, the best stuff that you can get your hands on, all right? So not everyone likes really hot and spicy stuff, because it is, in fact, almost like a chili powder, but really strong, okay? So it's up to you if you wanted to put that in, if you don't mind that sort of thing. That will absolutely boost this a little tiny bit more than what it already is. So I'm going to crack on and get that down my neck, and I aim to do that every single day over the coming weeks, and hopefully it's going to alter the fatigue, because looking into this now, at this moment in time, we just started August in 2023. There are so many reported cases of people feeling absolutely shattered, okay? And lots of people have tried all sorts, doubling up on coffee, everything else, energy drinks and all of that stuff if you want to go down that road, but nothing seemed to do anything. So I've decided to spend a lot of time researching into these ingredients within this drink, and we are going to see how we go. Now, like I said, I am not a professional, I am not an expert, I'm just a guy who does research with intuition to guide me to where I need to get to. And this, I believe, is going to absolutely help, because there's nothing worse than feeling tired. And I don't mean a little bit sleepy. I mean, you know, you get up, you get out of bed, you walk towards the stairs, and you feel like you're almost going to faint and pass out. That level of tiredness. Lots of people have that right now. And it's unknown at this moment in time, but if you did want to have a look into that, I'm going to put a link on the screen when this video is finished to a live stream which I've done recently, and we talked a little bit more in depth about what is actually going on, how it's happened, how many is affected, etc. Now, just briefly, there is over 7 million people in the UK right now who have seen their doctor saying that they're so tired, they don't know what's going on, can you help? 7 million, over 7 million. And that is just the reported cases. How many more on top of that, people like myself and others, and I know some of you watching right now, are probably the same, who haven't been to the doctor for whatever reason that you want to talk about, okay? So there is a lot of people out there struggling with this, and I hope that this works, and only time will tell. Usually when you're talking about herbal remedies and stuff, it does take a minimum of 3 to 4 days for it to actually work, so you do need to stick with it. Please don't make this drink it once and then the next day say, "I didn't work," and then stop it. You have to stick with it, okay? So remember the dosage, okay? Earlier on in the video, it's pretty much 1 teaspoon of those herbs, and that will do 2 days worth of drinks. So all you need to do is do your own math to how much you want to do. And if this works like I'm hoping it will, I'm going to make a great big batch. It sits in a kilner jar for whenever I want to have a really good energy boost to sort of get me through the day, allow me to get on with things. Because you don't want to be making this from scratch and ordering it online when you are already shattered. That's my advice. Take it or leave it. And I hope you guys have a good day. So, you guys take care. Thanks for watching and stay funky.